Welcome back to the Yoga Chat. I'm your host, Montana.
I'm your host, May, and we're cold and
Yeah,
grumpy.
look at us all bundled up. So, May, what have you done today? May already
Before we
told me this.
started,
I was like, May, we need to record it. She's like, ask me what I did today.
before we were recording, I told Montana I braved going on a walk today. It's like 15 degrees in Pittsburgh, but the sun is out, so it's basically a tropical paradise. But I just said like I was on my not hot girl walk because I was bundled up with 50 layers and you could barely see my face, and the part of my face you could see was grumpy. And if anybody looked at me or waved at me, I pretended like I didn't see them. And I was just having one of those days where this weather makes me not myself. I'm not fun and I don't like people. And I usually love people and I'm usually pretty fun. And I told Montana what she thought was funny is that at the moment I feel like I'll never have sexual feelings for any human being ever again, just because I'm simply that bummed out by this weather.
And she said too, like when the sun comes out, then I'll have sexual tendencies again.
For now, I'm asexual and I'm mad. And that's all I'm going to be for the next 2 months.
Well, I'm proud of you for still going out and walking. That is brave. It really is. It is even snowing in Texas. Like my family's like, it's snowing. And I'm like, ah, cute. And then I looked at their pictures and I'm like, holy shit, that's like a
It's really
significant amount
snowing.
of snow. Yeah.
Yeah, the South is having some kind of a weird, like blizzard, snowstorm, whatever. Our friends, in Memphis, the gals at the
Yeah.
Ashtanga friends, Michelle and Amy, they posted that they were having some big winter storm down there, and they were like, "What the fuck? That
What
we
do we
don't
do?
get snow in Tennessee." But hello to them if they're listening. Hi guys, I was
Yeah. And if you
thinking
haven't
about you.
already listened to their episode, it's so good.
It
From
is
Se-
really good. It was still to this day one of my favorites. Those two are inspiring in the way that everything they've done and accomplished is pretty much exactly what I want to do and accomplish. And who they are as people and what they believe in is just like I am fully subscribed to them
Board.
as people.
Agreed. They're really cool. One day we'll trek down there and meet them in person, manifesting that.
One day when we're traveling yoga teachers making insane amounts of money, just doing stuff that's fun and exciting for us, it'll happen someday.
Yeah,
Let's manifest
for
it.
sure. For sure. Um, I feel like there was something else I wanted to say before we get started, but I don't remember. So, well, I mean, we've already started, but uh,
Tell them
we,
how this happened first, the let them thing.
so should we
Like
start with that? Okay.
how you
Yeah, because it's
texted
pretty
me. Yeah.
crazy. So Monday morning, we had a snow day in Pittsburgh, at least in the South Hills. And our we canceled our morning classes. We ended up canceling the whole day. But so I normally teach at 9 a.m. that day. And I never watch the news. I shouldn't say never, I very rarely watch the news. But I put it on because sometimes like whenever there's like speakers or like Hoda and Jenna, I love Hoda and Jenna. I used to love Kathy Lee and Hoda, love it. But I'm normally not home to like watch that stuff. I was home and I wanted to hear about the weather because we are having a snow day. So I turned on the Today Show. And luckily, when I turned it on, it wasn't like some sad, depressing shit. It was Mel Robbins talking about the let them theory. And I was like, oh my God. So I started recording it and I recorded it in 3 different videos because I wanted to like get the most, I kept rewinding and then recording and rewinding and recording. And so I sent May those 3 videos and May was like, holy shit, like I'm watching the Today Show right now and I never watch TV in the morning. And I literally just watched this segment. And she was like, and it like hit me. And now I'm hearing it again. Like you're sending me a recording of the same segment. And she's like, so the universe clearly wants me to hear this. And I'm like,
Mhm.
absolutely, the universe wants you to hear this. I ordered the audiobook yesterday. I cannot stop listening to it. The universe wants everyone to hear this. I
Yeah.
have thought about every single person in my life at least once, and I'm in chapter 4.
Yep.
And I have decided that, like, when it's someone's birthday, this is the gift that I'm giving them for the foreseeable future. If they
Mhm.
already have the book at that point, they need to give it to someone else because everyone needs to hear this. It is the most simple, liberating, obvious, profound idea that I
And
have
it's very, very yoga if we're gonna weave that in. The whole
so
theory behind it is just very yoga.
so in the book, she talks about, I don't want to get too far into it, but first, before I tell you about how it relates to yoga, and she literally talks about that in the book, I asked, so this is like an elevator pitch of what the let them theory is. The let them theory is a mindset shift that emphasizes releasing control and embracing freedom in relationships and all situations. Instead of overthinking or reacting to others' choices, you simply let people do what they want, whether that's acting a certain way, making decisions, hygiene, or showing their true colors. By doing so, you create space for clarity, healthier boundaries, and genuine connection. It's about trusting that people reveal who they are through their actions and freeing yourself from the emotional weight of trying to control or influence outcomes. Let them and let yourself thrive. So in the book, she talks about how she came up with the theory, and she talked a little bit about it on the Today Show, but in the book, she goes into like way more detail about it. And essentially, long story short, it was her son's high school prom, and she was micromanaging the situation, and there were all these things and variables that were going wrong, and she was trying to fix them just like any mom would. And it got to the point where her daughter, who was visiting from college, like grabbed her arm and was like, "Mom, stop, you're being annoying." And she's like, "But it's raining. They're going to get wet. They don't have umbrellas." And she said, "Okay, we'll let them get wet." And they're like, she was like, "But they don't have reservations. They're going to go to the restaurant. They're not going to have any room for them." And she said, "Okay, let them go to Amigos, not have room. They'll figure it out." And she's like, but, blah, blah, blah. And she said it like one more time. "Okay, Mom, it's fine. Just let them. It's their prom, not yours. Get over it." And she said in that moment, like everything shifted in her mind. And she was like, "Holy shit, let them." She walked over to her son, gave him $40, said, "Have fun at Amigos," or "Here's $40 for Amigos. Have fun at your prom. I'll see you later tonight." And he like lit up with this like shock and said, "Thanks, Mom." Gave her a big hug. He and his date ran outside in the rain. They ruined the dress and the new sneakers immediately. And she was like, "Holy shit." So then she started researching this theory. So that's what I love too. I love, and if you've listened to the podcast, you know that May and I both love when people are humble and understand that, like, what I'm getting at is like, she's not like, "I came up with this theory." She's like, "I discovered this theory." So then she started researching it. And she's like, "This has been an idea and a theory for all of humanity." So she talks about detachment in Buddhism, which is what we talk about in yoga. She talks about like stoicism. She talks about, this idea, this new age idea of like the art of letting go, and how like all of these things are the same thing. But the let them theory is a systematical approach that gives you the tools to actually let it go, to actually feel detached. And then she talks about how like the first step is let them. And then it puts you in this like superior light, and you're like, "Huh, I'm better than them. Who fucking cares what they're doing? Let them do it." And she's like, "But you can only be in that superior state." She uses like the visual of like a teeter-totter. And she's like, when you say let them, you become like the better person, the bigger person, right? Like you don't care about what the people are doing or whatever. And she's like, but if you stay in that realm, you're going to lose a lot of friends. You're going to hate a lot of people. You're going to be constantly annoyed, and you're going to think you're better than everyone else. And she was like, so step 2, which is more important, is let me. So in the book, she gives all these different thorough examples with details that are like very prominent and make sense. Like she gives an example of like waiting in a grocery line, the cashier is moving really slow. She gives an example of being on an airplane with someone who keeps coughing and they won't cover their mouth. She gives an example of going to a state park where they're thinking about not allowing dogs anymore because there's irresponsible owners who let them off the leash and don't pick up their poo. She gives examples of like, and the book is broken up into sections. So the first section, I'm in the second section, or like parts. I think it's 2 sections, but 4 different parts. So the first part is about how to use the let them theory to deal with your stress. And she researched and met with this Dr. Hadidi, I think is how you say it. And scientifically backs this theory up with like, when we are in a stressful state, our amygdala, the part of our brain, our amygdala turns on, which is the exact same thing that our brain did ages ago when we were running away from saber-toothed tigers, right?
Yeah.
So now that literally we have not evolved beyond that. So when we're in a grocery line and the cashier is moving slowly and we get annoyed, it's literally the same part of our brain that was used. We know this again in yoga,
Yep.
that was used ages ago to actually keep us safe from animals that were going to eat us. And so she talks about how, like, by utilizing the steps and the tools of this theory, you literally turn your amygdala off and chemically, scientifically change your stress levels.
Yep.
And she talks about, literally, she's like, the fastest way to do this is to take deep breaths, because breathing is what calms everything down. Again, yoga, which is why I'm like, bouncing off the walls. I even themed my class this morning around the let them theory. I was like, okay, some of you may have heard about this, some of you may have not. I'm thinking about how we can relate it specifically to our yoga practice on our mat, our asana practice on our mat. So notice today, if and when you look at someone else and compare yourself to what they're doing, or notice if you're in your own practice in your own body and you're comparing yourself to what you did yesterday or a year ago or a decade ago, or what you think you're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Notice that and respond with, let them, right? Let that person do what they're doing. Let your body do what it did before. Like, let yourself recognize that it was doing something different in the past. And then let me. And that puts the power back in your own hands, because it's like, okay, well, I'm going to let them do whatever it is they're doing, whether that's someone next to me or me in the past. And now I'm going to let me come back to this moment right now in my own practice.
Yep.
And it is, I feel like there's one more, the second part that I'm in, she's talking about how to use the let them theory when it comes to other people's opinions of you. And so the
Mm.
title of this chapter is literally Let Them Think Bad Thoughts About You. And
Yeah.
it is like, when I like something, I obviously like go balls to the wall with it, but I really am not being dramatic when I say it feels life-changing. Now, it's our choice to actually utilize the theory and utilize the tools. And she says too, like, she gives an example of seeing her friends post a picture on Instagram of being on a girls' trip. She's on her couch and she starts spiraling. She's like, why was I not invited? What did I do? How did I make them mad? They hate me. Blah, 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 blah. And she was like, it's not as easy as just being like, oh, let them. You say it one time and you're done. She's like, no,
Of course, you're
you might
human.
have to say it 100 fucking times.
Yeah.
And then you might have to say it 100 more times. And she's like, but then whenever you turn it back to let me, it puts it back. She's like, have I invited them? This is a really simple example, but also we've all dealt with it. Have I invited them to do anything in the past few years? Actually, I've been so focused on my job that they probably weren't conspiring against me. They probably just didn't even think of me. Why would
Mm.
they? We haven't hung out or talked. I haven't made an effort. She was like, so through like however many days it took her to get to this point, she was like, so now eventually she got to a point, she's like, I'm going to reach out to them, not in a passive aggressive way, not to try to see what I did wrong, but because I realized, I saw that, it made me sad, and I'm sad because I miss hanging out with them.
I miss them.
I'm
Yeah.
going to invite them out. I'm going to invite them to my house and I'm going to throw a party.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just like, she talks about how you can use it in your relationships, how you can use it at work, how you can, it's so simple and so liberating, and everyone needs the audiobook, or I mean, you can read their actual book. I don't like to read books. I'm really not good at it. But she also reads the book in her voice with her tone. And it's like, I highly recommend listening to the audiobook, because the way she tells the stories, like, it's one thing to read it on a page, but to hear her inflection and her passion when she's talking about these
Mhm.
things, it's like, it's so good. It's so good. So
Funny, it's kind of like a more profound way of saying, "Not my circus, not my monkeys."
yeah.
I mean, it's like the theme of everything, and just like a couple things that you mentioned about, like, the amygdala and our fight or flight response, like, we don't have to run away from saber-toothed tigers anymore. So the things that stress us out are like, we want our children to have good experiences at the prom. We want to get through the grocery store line quickly so we can get home because we have a million other things to do. And we live in this society where yeah, and obviously I'm grateful to live at this time. I'm grateful I don't have to run away from saber-toothed tigers, but we are stressed all the time about everything, about how much we have on our plates and how quickly we need to do all of it so we can move on to the next thing. So the tiniest little hiccup can really throw a big wrench in your day. Um, so it's kind of like the anxiety is what creates your need to control everything. Because
Mhm.
if you think you're controlling everything, then it's just this never-ending cycle. Like anxiety makes you want to control everything. Obviously, we can't control everything. And then when you can't control everything, your anxiety gets bigger, your stress gets bigger.
Yeah.
That
And
and
she
also just the
also
idea of
go
like
ahead.
when you're constantly trying to micromanage what other people are doing, you're essentially avoiding yourself. And
You've
I think
given the power
that's
away.
you literally you it's a trap that we all fall into a lot. And I think that one of my biggest avoidant techniques and tactics I've created within myself is like when I have stuff that I know I need to deal with in me, I am always trying to either fix somebody else's problem, help somebody else with their problem, worry or obsess about other people's problems. Like we talked about just recently, like trying to get friends to do yoga when they're experiencing whatever. And I'm like, meanwhile, I haven't been to a yoga class myself in over a week. And it's just kind of like, you get to a point where you're just like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm sick of my own bullshit. I have all of these good intentions and all of these needs to help others and with their problems and their issues. And then, like, meanwhile, I'm over here. I haven't made a doctor's appointment that I said I was going to make in 3 months. I've been avoiding doing this. And then, so this literally all the other day after we watched that, it was like Monday. And obviously, the new year kind of inspired me. But like, I sat down on Monday. I made all of the annoying appointment calls that I've been avoiding making. It took me 10 fucking minutes. Why I've been avoiding it when it takes 10 minutes and it's not a big deal, I have no idea. I just like started to do things. I started to act my way out of my stress, out of my anxiety, out of my avoidance. And it feels so freeing. And I don't know why. And I know that like everybody avoids something. We all have something or lots of things that we avoid. But I like when I saw that and when you texted it to me, I was like in the middle of talking to my mom about some family stuff, and it's stuff that we've been focusing on a lot, and I've been using that. I don't have to worry about myself because I'm worried about this other thing. And I read that, I saw that, you sent it to me, and I was like, "All right, today's the day that
Sure.
I take care of my shit." Because if I can take care of my shit, then I'm gonna feel better, and I'm not gonna be obsessing about other people's shit. Um,
Yeah,
it's a much less profound way to say all the things you just said, but I feel it. I feel it big. And, in general, I think as an adult, and me and you have conversations like this all the time, as people who are mostly like, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We both have our bullshit that we deal with, obviously. But I think one thing that we both are is self aware. So, like, we at least try to understand why we're doing the things we do or why we're not doing the things that we're not doing.
why
And
we're
so
feeling
sometimes
a way about why how other people are doing things, like, always evaluating to a fault
so,
maybe.
like, if we're the thing is, since we're always evaluating ourselves, it's harder to swallow when other people do things and say things that you're like, how could they do this one thing and say another thing? Are they not evaluating themselves? So, like, I think we're both overthinkers in a lot of ways, and we evaluate ourselves to a insane degree. So it's harder to swallow when other people don't appear to be doing that same amount of self-evaluation. And it gets frustrating. And then that message was just so received at the moment. Like, yeah, my uncle's gonna be a dick about this, or my neighbor is gonna be a dick about this. But like that's not my fucking problem. And the more I make it my problem, the more I'm avoiding the work I need to do within like me and my shit. So it's definitely a message I needed to hear. And it actually sprung me into action on a lot of things, and I feel pretty good about it.
That's awesome. Same,
Yeah.
like, I also love, like, how realistic she is about it, like, she's not, like, she's so human about it. She's like
Yeah. That's why she's so relatable. I think
yeah,
the way she and everything she says, because I've read a lot of her stuff. I think she's had a TED Talk that I
yeah,
walked
she's
or that
amazing.
I watched, but, the way she talks about everything is just very human, and she
Yeah,
and it makes it easy to listen to her because she sounds like anybody that you know, dealing with the same problems that anybody deals with, and it's just relatable. I learn the most from people who are open about who they really are, and it
Yeah.
just makes me feel, I absorb what they have to say a lot better because they're showing me what's real and what's true, and I believe it.
Yeah, exactly. Cause it's like, you can't call bullshit on reality, you know?
Exactly.
Um, yeah, I highly can't, obviously can't recommend it enough. Stop what you're doing. Honestly, turn this fucking podcast off and turn on that audiobook.
Mel Robbins knows more than we do, without a fucking
She's
doubt.
amazing. Like, it's
She
just,
is.
it's so, and like, I, of course, immediately, like, I sent it to Matt and I'm like, listen to this. It's going to change your life. It's going to change the way that you approach work. It's going to change your business. Look. And of course, he's like, I don't fucking care about that. And this morning we actually like had like a little bit of time to like drink coffee together. And by a little bit of time, I mean like 15 minutes before we like went off onto our days. And so I'm like, gave him the same spiel that I just did right now on this podcast. And he's just sitting there and he's just like, so like, he's like smiling and like unamused and just kind of like humoring me. And I finally get off my soapbox and he goes, great. You just explained the whole thing to me. Now I don't have to read it. And I'm like, no, you should read it. And then I caught myself and I was like, oh, let them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let them. Let him not read
And
it.
then on the way to work, I like thought to myself, I was like, let me. All right, what am I going to do? I'm going to keep listening to it and I'm going to lead by example. And if he sees me not giving a shit about so many different things that I normally give so many fucking shits about, then maybe he'll be interested in picking it up. Maybe he won't. Let them.
You know what's funny? What you just said, lead by example, just kind of like sparked something in me that's going to take us off into a little tangent if we're ready to go on one.
Open the can of worms.
Okay, well, you opened the can of worms. I'm just diving headfirst into it. I was texting with a friend last night who was asking me about like she was receiving some messaging from a yoga studio, not like actual messaging, but like their message as a yoga studio.
Mm,
And she was like curious about it. And she messaged me and she was just like, hey, I'm receiving this like message from a yoga studio, but like it doesn't seem like their values align. It doesn't seem like their behaviors align with the values that they are advertising. And I was
mhm.
like, okay. So, like, you obviously noticed that now already. There are probably a lot of people that don't notice that yet and won't notice it for a while. But the one thing that we came to discuss, and like the one sentence that kind of sums it up was like, if you are using words to say what you are, but you're not delivering it, then like no one might notice at first, but you can also embody what it is that you want to portray. And then you can just let people feel it from you and see it from you rather than having to go off on like big sanctimonious speeches about what and who you are. Um, so, like, we were just essentially I'm not saying it as well as I was saying it last night, but, like, it kind of circles back to the idea of, like, yoga teachers and leading by an example. So, like, you can go and you can sit and you can talk and give dharma talks and you can talk about the 8 limbs and you could talk about the yamas and the niyamas, or you can go into class and talk about a book you're reading, and you can share it, and you can let it it doesn't have to be like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a big show. It can be like a real life, tangible, relatable thing that people can understand based on like where they're coming from. And it's just it boiled down to like what something I've been feeling and seeing a lot, like just in humans in all parts and facets of my life is like you can say whatever you want to say, but like are you embodying it? Like are you doing the work that you're claiming to be so important? And I think that is something that I would like to discuss because I really want to see in general in life, in like our government, in our families, in our friendships, more people doing what they say matters to them instead of just saying the things matter to them.
And I think that like this can circle back. I think that's so important. I'm also looking up something that this reminded me of. So I think that first thought that can circle back to the let them theory, right? So
I
instead of,
know.
yeah, exactly. Like I want to see other people doing blah, blah, blah. It's just like, oh, you notice someone saying things that don't align with their actions, let them. All
Yeah.
right. And then the more important second part, let me. Well, what am I going to do? Well, I'm a yoga teacher and we're talking about yoga teachers' actions and words aligning. So I'm going to make sure that my actions and words do align.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah. Like,
literally like even that sentence just makes me feel lighter and more powerful and
yeah.
like more grounded in who I am. What you were sharing too reminded me of, I just watched the Aaron Rodgers documentary, which is also really amazing. And in one of the episodes, this guy named Adrian Colbert, who plays for the Chicago Bears, is with him for an ayahuasca ceremony. And he's talking about how the first night Aaron Rodgers stood up. I keep saying Aaron Rodgers, but like, how do you not say his first and last name? He stood up and like started dancing in the circle. And Adrian was talking about, he's like, to see someone of that caliber, which is why I love Aaron Rodgers so much, which is why I've loved him since he came out talking about like spirituality and just like,
FYI, everyone, Montana's got a bigger crush on Aaron Rodgers than John Summit.
I do. I
Is that
really do.
accurate?
And Matt hates to hear that, but also Matt watched the documentary with me and he was like, oh shit, he's not so much of an asshole that I also like, you know, give and take. Like the media wants to make him an asshole. His documentary is obviously going to make him look not like an asshole. So like meet somewhere in the middle. He's probably just a
Somewhere in
normal
the middle.
dude,
It's
right?
gray. Just like all
Um,
humans. We're all assholes and we're all
exactly.
good. We all
Yeah,
have
exactly.
we all have it all.
But he's not so bad and he's pretty fucking cool. So anyways, Adrian's talking about, he's like to see someone like of that masculinity and that caliber, like stand up and freely dance was so inspiring. And I took a picture, I wrote down a quote that he said so that's what I'm pulling up in the documentary. And I actually posted a picture of it on my Instagram and tagged him. And he reshared my writing, like me writing his quote, and he messaged me. I said, thank you for your vulnerability and bravery. You're a trailblazer and a true inspiration. He said,
Wait,
thank you for
Aaron Rodgers messaged you?
no. God, I would
Oh,
shit
I
myself.
was
No,
like, holy shit.
no, but this is almost as cool. His name's Adrian Colbert, and he plays for the
Okay, got it.
Chicago Bears. So he's
Okay.
also an NFL player. And he
Can you get
responded to
us some tickets?
me, right? Yeah.
Get us some playoff tickets, man.
He said, thank you for seeing me and for feeling the intention with a sun emoji. And what his quote was, he was talking about Aaron Rodgers freely dancing. That's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He said, you don't need words to be a leader. Your actions speak so much louder than the words you can say.
Boom.
Yeah. And
That's
I
the
was just
juice.
like, and when he said that, I literally, it hit me so hard that I took a fucking piece of paper and I wrote it down on a piece of paper because I was like, bam, like that's it. That is.
Montana, ask him to be on the yoga chat. Holy shit. Holy shit. Let's do it. NFL player 2025. I don't know him, but I'm going to get to know him.
I'm gonna ask. I feel like, yeah, I'm gonna
Why
ask.
not? Fuck around and find out.
We've never shared with you guys. We normally do this behind the scenes of like who we're gonna ask and how we're gonna ask them, and this is normally how it goes. We've never thought about an NFL player before, but we're like, yeah, go ask him, go ask him.
What do
And
we have to lose at
Luna,
this point?
yeah, Pedro Luna and his wife Summer Luna and Bradshaw Wish and Gianna Gambino
Yeah,
are the
we've
only
gotten
people that
snubbed
have
and
said
we've gotten
yes.
like resounding yeses. It's really cool to
Exactly.
like
Yes.
to see how many people are willing to just like share what they have to share just for no
Yeah.
reason. They're not getting paid just because they really believe in it. It's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's been people that we've asked to have ghosted us. Like, and
Yeah,
that's also
totally.
fine. Like,
Yeah.
it's also fine. So all right. Yeah,
Read that
that
quote one more time about the leader.
I
I really
will.
like it.
He said, sorry, it went away. One sec. Just going to my messages with Adrian Colbert really quick. It says you
Sliding
don't,
into your DMs with all your famous new
yeah,
Instagram boyfriends. Sorry,
crazy,
Matt.
wild. You don't need words to be a leader. Your actions speak so much louder than the words you can say.
Good God.
And
Thank
honestly,
you.
like I recommend following his Instagram too, because it's like, it's really inspiring. Like he wrote, this is another one of his quotes. Power is given to the things we choose to believe in. Make sure that you believe in yourself overall. If you aren't showing up for yourself, then how do you think others will? Choose unconditional self-love and your glow will inspire those around you. Last one. What more could we possibly need in this life than the very moment we stand or sit in? Find the courage within today to choose presence over anxiety or fear. What's next is now.
We literally just had that conversation with our chat guest for next week, which
Yep,
we can't reveal quite yet, but it's very similar.
it is.
Um, it's very
It is.
similar. And
Well,
these are
cool.
more
That's
messages that I keep hearing over and over again,
yeah.
and they're landing on me and they're making me just fucking get shit done. I'm tired
Yeah.
of
It feels
avoiding
really
stuff.
good. It feels
It
really good
does.
to take your power back.
It
And that's,
does.
I think, hi, Jared's here. I'm in the studio. I hope he thinks he can come in or knows he can come in. You can come in. But anyways, I know we were going to talk about another thing, but I think since this is supposed to be a quickie, let's just save that one for our
Yeah,
next. Because this
works
just
for
that's
me.
a really good road. But I want to say, because I lost my squirrel, Jared distracted me. Um, but yeah, I think that really the importance and the benefit and the invitation that the let them theory gives us is to take our power back. And that is above all. It's like whenever we focus on controlling things that we can't control, which is literally everything other than
Yeah,
ourselves, we
yeah.
automatically give away our power. We give away our energy and we waste precious time.
Brahmacharya,
Yeah, exactly.
energy fucking management. Let's
Exactly.
go.
It's in us. All right, cool. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Next week, we've got an amazing guest. We're so excited to share them with you. And the week
He's all
after,
right, I guess.
he is fine.
He's
Just kidding.
fine.
Love you. And then the week after, we actually already know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a talk about an Instagram post that I posted also on the yoga chat about the importance of teachers focusing on students rather than on focusing on themselves. Um, so stay
We've
tuned.
all seen those teachers. Hey, everyone, look at me get into this back bend. Everybody, eyes up here. Watch me.
Yeah, truly. It's also been really cool. I want to save this for next time. I really do. But like, I also thought about like when I said that, I was like, well, what about first time teachers? Because that like you kind of have to like really be focused on yourself in order to
For
give
sure.
a good experience.
It's a journey.
But Maggie Skopolsky. How do you say your last name, Maggie? I'm sorry.
I
How do you
think you
say that?
got it. I think you got it right.
She just taught her first class on Sunday, and it was like such a beautiful and then I thought about all the other new teachers that I know that are
Yep.
really good teachers doing it for the right reasons. And Maggie wasn't focused on herself. Maggie worked her ass off to make
Yes, she
sure
did.
that she provided a good experience for her students.
And you
So
can tell she
even,
worked her ass off. She
yeah,
practiced, she dedicated her time to give that experience, and that shows how much she cares about it and how little she wants
hi.
it to be about her and how much she knows it's about her students, which we love you,
Exactly.
Maggie.
Exactly. All right. Well, with that, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.